Buying a healthy puppy is really hard, and it's super easy to be tricked and conned by illegal breeders and puppy importers. So if you want to make sure that you're not supporting an industry built on animal cruelty, and you want to make sure that your new puppy is as healthy as possible, you'd better stick around. Hi, I'm veterinarian Dr. Alex from ourpetshealth.com, where my aim is to help you optimize your pet's health so that they can live the full and happy life that they deserve. And today I'm bringing you part of my interview with the fantastic Kat the vet, all about how to avoid being conned and how to choose the right puppy for you. And Kat really opened my eyes to some of the extreme extent that people will go to when it comes to conning you out of your money when you're buying a puppy. Let's start off maybe with how to choose the right dog. You know, is a dog right for you and what's the right breed? Because there's a lot that needs to go into this decision, isn't there?
Huge amounts of research need to be done before you buy a puppy or rescue a dog, however you're going to get one. And I think that, and actually I think a lot of people do quite a bit of research. So I think that when people decide to get a dog, the vast majority of people do think about this concept of getting a dog quite carefully. So the idea of the dog is not an impulse purchase. So I think most people do think, can we have a dog in our lives? Have I got the time to walk it? Have I got the space to look after it? And then I think now the messaging is getting through. So they think, well, what breed should I have? So I think there is quite a lot of research that happens, and there's loads of fabulous resources online. You know, should you have a Springer Spaniel or a Cocker Spaniel who are full of energy? Are you more a Staffy type of a person? Are you after more of a lap dog like a Cavy, or dare I say it, a Chihuahua or something like that? Or the Cockapoos, which are just, or anything poo. I mean, you never see an actual poodle anymore, do you? There's just the poo part of the poodle that exists with all sorts of crossbreeds. So I think a lot of people do actually put a reasonable amount of research into what kind of dog. Where it falls down is once the decision has been made, we are going to own a cockapoo, they then just Google cockapoos for sale and buy the first one. And that is where the problems come.
I'm sure you've seen some patients that have got pretty tragic stories and clients who have ended up devastated. So what kind of thing, you know, what kind of pitfalls are people falling into? What's the result of making that purchase from the wrong person?
Well, this is the problem, is it's not easy to buy. In fact, it's quite hard to buy a well-bred, well brought up, well socialized, well cared for puppy. It is extremely easy to buy a puppy farmed, imported, badly bred, poorly socialized puppy, because they are far more common. Puppy farms and other places are breeding in bulk. They're piling them high. They're not selling them cheap, but they're piling them high. And to pick through all of that, for want of a better word, rubbish, and find that, you know, sort of unicorn dog who is perfect is hard. And that's why people either don't even try, or they try a little bit, realise how hard it is, and then go, well, we just want a dog and it doesn't really matter where it's been bred, because once we have it, we're going to love it and everything's going to be totally fine, and I'm just going to buy that one. And I'm not really going to think too hard about where it's been before it came to me. But of course, how that puppy is bred, and particularly, as you know, how that puppy is handled and how the mother is handled in that 6 to 8 week period before it is sold, is hugely impactful on the rest of its life, both from the health perspective. So we've all heard those tragic stories of the puppy being handed over at a service station, looking a bit peaky, oh, it's just a bit car sick, getting it home, you know, within 24 hours it's in the vet on a drip, and then it's dead of parvovirus. We've all heard those stories. What's more common, family gets a puppy, all seems fine. The breeder has, you know, the breeders of these animals read all the advice online as well. So they go and they've, you know, got some questions. We've been told that we must ask these special questions, and the breeder says, of course, they've been born in the kitchen. My children have played with them every day. They're just such lovely litter. And they sit in this kitchen, and there's a playpen of puppies, and there's a few of them looking. Where's mum? Oh, she's out for a walk. Or, oh, she doesn't really like them anymore. And they're like, okay, cool. When can I take one? Well, you can take it now. Do you want it now? Do you want it now? The kids really like it. Do you want it now? That'll be Well, I mean, I used to say, oh, that'll be £800 in cash. But over lockdown, the puppies in the UK have gone completely bananas. They're now £2,500 in cash. And then they get bundled out of the door with this lovely little puppy. And they've asked the right questions. And the puppy comes vaccinated, wormed and microchipped. Because if you're selling a puppy for £2,500, to spend 50 quid on some wormers and a microchip and a vaccine is nothing.
Yeah.
And then they get the puppy home. And then it's a bit peaky, and then they bring it to the vets, and then, oh, it's got some fleas and some ear mites, and it might have got a touch of kennel cough, or it seems kind of fine, but it's a bit bitey, or it's a bit nervous. And sometimes I think the families don't ever realise what they have done, especially now we're breeding a lot of the poodle-oodle things. They're not awful dogs. They're just not quite right.
Yeah.
And I don't know about you in where you are, but the cockapoos now are becoming quite hugely common in the UK, and they are becoming more and more notorious for anxiety issues. They're hugely overrepresented for behavioural referrals now, even over and above the bulk of the numbers.
Yeah.
That is the issue, is that it's the behaviour that's the biggest issue. You know, I think we used to see a lot of like puppy farmed Labradors who would all pitch out with hip dysplasia and elbow dysplasia, and, you know, German Shepherds with slopey backs, and Cocker Spaniels with epilepsy, and all, you know, sort of easy diagnosable.
Yeah. Think medical problems, but behaviour issues are a little bit. Yeah.
But I think now there's just this huge number of dogs who just, the families just sometimes don't even realise that their lives are harder than they could be, because you know, they haven't had that early they haven't been socialised well when they were first born. The mother hasn't been selected for, you know, being mentally stable or behavioural. She's just been selected for having a uterus and nothing else.
Yeah.
You know, and so the puppies just aren't quite right. And some of them do okay. You know, they turn out all right, and the family loves them and everything is fine. But a lot of them don't. And, you know, then they go into rescue because they're a bit too much, and it can take a long time, and sometimes almost never are the pieces of that puzzle put together, and people think, actually, I think we made, you know, the problem started when we bought this, but we did it the wrong thing.
Yeah, they don't realise they've been conned effectively, and what they were told was a bunch of lies, and the impacts are huge. And I think kind of one statistics, and we know how reliable statistics can be, is that the biggest cause of death and rehoming in dogs under 3 years of age is behavioural problems. So, you know, we don't think of that as a medical issue, or as, you know, oh, they're maybe a bit naughty, but the impact of that on the dog's life and on the human animal bond are just massive. So from that point of view, I guess people need to be patient when they decide what breed is right for them. They need to think, well, this might be a 12, 18 month process of finding the right dog. We're kind of talking about that kind of time frame, because you might find an ideal breeder, but they've only got 1 or 2 bitches. They maybe hopefully don't breed them every season. So it can take quite a long time. And then they need to, ideally, I guess, be seeing those puppies when they're young with their mother, and maybe having several visits, so that they can, you know, it's harder to fool people on multiple visits, isn't it, than just a one and done.
Oh, hugely. You know, if you can Google cockapoos for sale near me, find one, visit the next day and buy it, you absolutely don't want that puppy. If it is easy to buy, do not buy it. So you've got to then, you know, you've got to be prepared that it's going to take you a long time to actually find the right dog to buy. And you're absolutely right. I think you have to create a relationship with a breeder, have them recommended to you personally. If you know that, ring your local vets. Somebody vets for good breeders, so they, you know, vets do know them. Do your research, find them, get on a waiting list. Yeah, that's the key. It's hard to buy a well-bred dog, and it will take you time. And you have to be incredibly picky and fussy. And the other really unfortunate thing is you have to be massively cynical, on your guard, ready and prepared to walk away. And that's the hardest thing. If you're in that kitchen with that playpen of puppies who look super cute, and the kids are going crazy, and the lady's answering all of your questions, but the mum's not there. The kitchen's quite clean. You know, if these puppies have been living there for 2 months, it should be a bit stinky.
Yeah.
All of those things, you know,
Yeah.
you need to go away and think, if the breeder says, do you want to take the puppy now? And you hand over the cash and take the puppy. You don't want to take you want to go away, think about it.
Yeah, and you mentioned something earlier that you need to kind of, you know, find a breeder, you need to go on the waiting list, and that is crucial, because good breeders, you can't get the next puppy from the next litter because they've already got a waiting list that's as long as your arm. So, you know, they can't provide puppies willy-nilly, like you say, off the shelf. So a good breeder, you're going to need to go on a waiting list. They're also going to be more than happy to send you, you know, photos of the puppy growing up every day, and, you know, here's it playing with mum, here's it having a drink, here's it sleeping. You know, they're really advocates for their puppies because they want them to go to a good home as well. So you might also find that actually the breeder is asking you just as many questions because they want to be sure that you're the right owner for their puppy. So they're doing a bit of selection there, whereas, you know, other people are just wanting to get them out the door, like you say.
And that's where it gets quite awkward. And you're like, well, I found a lovely Labrador bred by a terribly posh lady in a beautiful house in the middle of the countryside, but she's asking me lots of questions. You know, and people are like, well, why would I not be? Why wouldn't you give me one of your dogs? And so, you know, it is a real process to go through, and it's not the easiest, but absolutely, you know, the way that puppy is bred, the experiences it has right from the moment of being born. They might not be able to see, but they can smell, and then eventually they get their sight and their hearing. All of those experiences impact hugely on their development. If you want a dog to live in your family home and be part of your family, then that's where it needs to start its life. Not in a shed, not in a shed anywhere, not in a shed in this country, not in a shed abroad and then transported thousands of miles over land, which is the issue we have in the UK with these huge European puppy farm problems. Not taken away from its mum at 5 or 6 weeks old and imported illegally. That's the other issue we have in the UK, is that they should be vaccinated against rabies, but
who knows?
They're probably not all of them. And do you want to be the person who buys the first rabid puppy in UK because it's been illegally imported? No. It's phenomenal how the effort that these backyard and puppy farm breeders will go to sell you a puppy that they will try to convince you is homebred. So there was a report by the RSPCA. They raided a house that they suspected of selling puppies. They found in that house 20 mobile phones, all pay as you go. On the back of each phone was the name of a breed. And they said in the end they had to turn all the phones off because they went so often. They couldn't hear themselves think. There was a phone ringing all the time. And it was just some, you know, and obviously it was an organised criminal activity. They would pick the phone up, look at the back. This is about the Shih Tzus, ring it. I'm calling back, oh, they're Shih Tzus. Yeah, they're lovely, you know. And there was 20 different mobiles on this kitchen table. And then the other thing that they do is they hire a family home. So a family home is rented, an Airbnb or something, for like a month or so. And they move litters in and out of that house for that period of time. And so, you know, so people come, see this lovely family environment, lovely little puppies, maybe an adult dog mooching about, whether it belongs to those puppies or not, it doesn't really matter. And, you know, you just think that's bananas that people are going to that effort, but there's such a lot of money in it. Thousands and thousands of pounds per puppy, you know, which if they're bred in Europe and then imported, you know, they can be sold for a few €100 over there and then sold on again here for a few £1,000s. You can see why.
Well, it's big business, isn't it? Yeah.
Humongous. And this is why they make all the effort. And this is why they're desperate to fool you. And this is why, unfortunately, you have to be on your guard. You have to be prepared to walk away. You do not want to buy the puppy on the first visit. You know, all of those things. Because, you know, again, quite aside from the fact that you might be saddling yourself with an unhealthy dog or a behaviourally challenging dog, you are supporting an industry which is built on animal cruelty.
And I guess that's the message as well, because there's some people who they'll go and they'll visit the puppy and they'll recognize it for what it is, and it's, you know, it's a bit peaky, it's, you know, maybe a little bit thin, and they'll go, oh, I can't leave it in this condition. I feel so sorry for it, I need to take it away. But I guess the take home message there is that while you're potentially helping that one puppy, all you're doing is encouraging the people to keep going, and it's going to be replaced by the next one within 24 hours, if not sooner. So, you have to have a little bit of a hard heart from that point of view, and that in the moment thinking of the greater good, really.
Oh yeah, really I rescued him, conversation that we've all vets have had. You're like, it's a bit of a scrappy little scrap of fluff here with its ear mites and its fleas and its underweight and its bloated belly full of worms. And they go, well, I couldn't leave him. Really, I feel like I rescued him. And you're like, well, did you pay several £1,000s and buy him and fuel this trade? But by the time people get into the vet practice, and we've seen it all before, it's done.
Now, if you want a simple checklist for spotting a healthy, well-bred puppy, make sure you check out the video linked on screen now. And until next time, I'm veterinarian Dr. Alex. This is Our Pets Health, because they're family.